Yeah, we should.
Union of the Unknowns, a podcast dedicated to the exploration of modern culture, presents a weekly digest of current events that may have slipped past your radar. This is not your mama's news.
Welcome, everyone. How are we doing today?
If you're talking to us, good. Thank you.
Yes, I am.
So stoked. Stoked.
Yes, so here we go. Welcome to another episode of Not Your Mama's News, presented by the Union of the Unknowns, and this is a spooky, spectacular Halloween special. Did I hear a ghost? Unless you're in Australia, then you're already in the future. You're beyond that. But we're all here together. We're celebrating. It's spooky. It's real. We're vibing. With me, I have my podmate, Stella Q. How are we today, Stella?
Shuffling papers. Yes, Halloween was so yesterday. I think it's All Saints Day today, I believe. We're mopping up the mess.
Yes, so it was old news there. How you doing? Or, as you would say, how you going?
Again, mate. Very good. I had another little visit from Stumpy yesterday, so I was happy to see that he's okay after 2 days of torrential rain.
Ooh.
Good. That's my visit.
Well, maybe, yeah, we'll come back to that.
My world has become.
We'll come back to that because I want to do a little news reporting myself on that subject. And
Lovely.
With us today of Burn Babylon Burn and the Doom Kitchen, the Liberty Connector, the friendliest guy in the Liberty community, the most outgoing guy I've ever met. He makes friends everywhere he goes. Ando, how you doing?
Hey, how are you? You just introduced me so well, I don't even know how to introduce myself now, except to say that we hang out every weekend at the WTF forum, just about every weekend. And happy spooky edition. I've incorporated a new thing into my costume. I've added Mr. Sock, or Socko. Yeah, it's Mick Foley's Socko, except for I can't figure out where I put the camera on this thing. Hi,
Socko.
We have a mascot. Very appropriate.
Hello, Socko. Thank you for joining us.
It's above so
Do you
below.
remember Mick Foley? I used to be his sock.
It's good that he's keeping a foot of the situation.
Leave it to Stella for the puns. I can never keep up with the punniness of this community.
I can, to be totally honest.
See?
Just depends which angle you're looking at it from.
Love it.
Oh, well. Only the soulless can make tons of pun jokes. I did it. Okay. Every now and again, I can pull one out of my hat.
You're not just a punless heel.
Oh, man. So, happy to be here with you people for our spooky, spectacular episode. And so we're going to keep it casual tonight. We're going to keep it fun. We're going to chat. We're going to be buds, and we're going to take it from here. So first of all, I'm going to update the socials, let people know that we're streaming. However, I wanted to see if Stella, briefly before we get into the clown world news, if she would give us a little bit of information about who is Stumpy, in case you didn't know, and tell us about the Worm Cafe where you met Stumpy.
Yeah, well, let's get the priorities right in this breaking news.
Obviously, Stumpy is priority.
I would like to believe that, well, Stumpy is an eastern water dragon. For those who don't know, this is an Australian reptile, and there are a lot of them in this area because there's some eastern water around, I guess. But Stumpy is a lovely little chap, and he has become, I'm sure it's a he has become very friendly towards me and comes now to, he's got a standing reservation at the Worm Cafe. And whenever we happen to cross paths, which is generally every second day, sometimes every day, he hangs around until I notice him. And then he started to actually come closer and closer. And I've been hand feeding him worms from my Worm Cafe. So he's become my little friend. And Stumpy is called Stumpy because he has a stumpy little tail. It's been damaged at some point, possibly from a dog. But I would like to think that Stumpy was the same eastern water dragon that was saved as a baby from some wire up in our backyard, and found a little water dragon, and I couldn't get it out properly, so I called the wires lady, and she knew exactly what she was doing. I didn't want to hurt
that's
him.
Amazing. I forgot about that story.
Yeah, so I like to think that that's the same lizard. But, I could be deluding myself. But this lizard is definitely the same lizard that was around last season, so it's at least been here for at least a year or so, because I recognise the tail.
So, well, yeah. I hope that it is the same little guy. And you also have gotten, you've begun getting quite close to him, correct?
Oh, yes. Yesterday, Stumpy was he was so ravenous, I suppose, but I was holding the worms in front of him, and he was sort of standing on a ledge, and he was he was trying to get them before I was ready to give them to him. It was making me a bit nervous. It was almost practically jumping at me, like it was ridiculous. Almost fell off the wall twice trying to grab a worm before I actually sort of got it close enough to him. So yeah, he's a funny little fella.
Makes great. My day. I love that. Yeah,
and thanks for asking about Stumpy.
I loved hearing about Stumpy, and I have seen the pictures of him, and he is a beautiful little guy. Now, what defines or what makes you think that he's a male?
His behaviour. I thought it was a female at first, but then I realised that the males tend to do certain little things like head bobbing, and he gets quite red down the side of him when he gets. That's sort of what they do when they're looking for a mate as well. So, whoa, if you don't hear from me, I've been taken into the reptile world. He
likes you.
We might be here to save the world. There might be something more to this.
Yes, he's actually here to tell you about what his distant cousins are up to.
Yep, and he's a spy.
He's a spy, and he's one of the good guys.
I'm gathering intel on a large scale.
He's bringing us the truth. All right.
He told me he would like more worms, please.
He always wants more worms.
Yeah, he seems to have an unlimited belly for as many worms as Stella can possibly feed him.
It's usually about 30 or 40.
What a little chunk.
I know. Total.
A little chunker.
So hopefully the worms will all get very horny in the Worm Cafe. We'll have to, I don't know, maybe I should play some Barry White or something. Make them sort of speed things up a little bit. I don't know.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
It might be the best idea I've ever heard you have for worm cultivation. We probably should introduce that to the permaculture sphere as well.
Worm porn.
We'll let Mike the Polymath know.
Yeah. It could be a whole new venture, a whole new niche.
It could be.
Tapped into here.
Okay, guys. Well, who wants to go first? Ando, I know maybe you, because you might be moving the truck soon.
Speaking of worms, there was a Halloween party at the White House today, and War Secretary Anthony Blinken brought his kids. And, that's all well and good. You should bring your kids to a Halloween party. But he dressed his daughter up as the Ukrainian flag, and he dressed his son up as Volodymyr Zelensky. What a douchebag.
Dear, oh dear.
Wow. And so Anthony Blinken himself is Ukrainian. So that there's so much to this conflict of interest. But, warmonger's gonna warmonger. And,
Did they serve pizza by any chance?
I hope he didn't sing again. Actually, to be honest, I don't think he was that bad. But I didn't want to like it. I wanted to dislike it. I didn't like it. I just didn't think he was awful, you know? Y'all saw that, right? Anthony Blinken singing the blues.
Oh, that was that guy, right? I don't really know who he is. He was playing guitar?
He's not terrible. He's not, pro level or anything, but
he's not terrible, but he was very much like a dad karaoke without the beer.
Yeah. Although you want him to just fail at everything he does because, he's bringing us World War III and sending all of our dollars over to another place.
I'm going to see if I can come up with a picture of that little guy. This costume.
Oh, the dogs are going off. Okay, I get you, Ashley. You're muted because of the dogs. Gotcha. We can just talk amongst ourselves.
I like those dogs, by the way. They are wonderful dogs.
They're so sweet.
If you want to get it, go to InfoWars because I snuck over there to grab a story really fast, and I'm like, they always have. They've been this good to me for 20-something years. So,
InfoWars?
Do
you mean?
Yeah. Well, you know what's kind of sus with them, and then you know what's a legitimate story. This is one that had a Twitter link to it and actual pictures. So yeah.
There's always some truth.
Oh yeah, no, I think InfoWars is great. It's it's on the higher truth percentage than least. And also, you can buy some supplements to get your worm porn going. You can give them the stuff, and they'll have super male vitality. And
that might turn my worms gay, mate.
No, that it does the opposite. It's the water that turns things gay because the atrazine content and other such things. But whenever you give them brain force, you get smart worms, and then when you give them ultra male vitality, then they drink tangerine, and and they're basically Alex for a moment. So
I don't really want to encourage the worms to become intelligent and rise up and take over the reptiles. I don't know. I mean, a worm-ruled world, maybe that wouldn't be such a bad thing. I'm sure it would all be underground for sure.
It wouldn't be much different than it really is because, as we talk about all the time, that these people are possessed by demonic parasites. So very similar to worms, lower life forms that are grabbing the puppet strings of the psychopaths that are running everything. So, these are Rob conversations, but I always enjoy them.
And it's why the ivermectin was like the wooden stake, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they steal our medicine and sell us their cures. But ivermectin, it's so funny because people were making jokes about ivermectin curing everything because they were trying to make fun of anti-vaxxers, and it turns out that just getting rid of parasites will cure a lot of things.
Oh, absolutely. And it's funny how lately too, well, not funny, but lately they've made that connection between psychological status and the gut, the biome. So yes, that would definitely correlate with that hypothesis for sure.
Yes, I have actually seen that they did a fecal transplant from a mouse that was showing signs of schizophrenia, which I don't know if they cultivated that or how that ended up happening. But then they...
Hang on. Sorry. How would you diagnose a mouse as having schizophrenia?
That's a good question. That part I'm not sure about. Unless...
The best part of it is it's got schizophrenia. Let's give it a poop change and see what happens.
Well, actually,
that's the first thing I think of.
They gave the schizophrenia poop to a non-schizophrenic mouse. Okay. And that mouse then began displaying, maybe it was like antisocial type or like frantic behavior or up and down. I don't know. It's worth digging into. But that the mouse who did not show signs of schizophrenia, who received the fecal transplant, then began showing signs of schizophrenia. Then I just saw a blip just this week. This would have been a good story. That they also did that with Alzheimer's. So there's definitely a lot going on with the gut biome, and probably with, the different stuff they have in the food and the water and all that stuff, but the overuse of antibiotics in our society as well. It's a fascinating subject.
Well, like poop could change the world, but I'd sort of want to meet the person that I was going to have their poop, maybe, I don't know, take me out to dinner first, something.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so if you get schizophrenia from getting your poop exchanged with somebody with schizophrenia, is it schizophrenia at that point? And can I say that?
You definitely can say it, and I think it is.
Just did.
I think it is. And I also think that this makes me think that people should be I'm thinking of Owen Benjamin right now. I'm not gonna say anything, but I'm just saying, if you are engaged in certain activities with other adults, you may want to consider using protection.
Yeah, you might get worms and poop. It
might be contagious. I don't know.
Right, so if you get the Alzheimer's from the poop, you can't remember shit.
Yeah. Nice.
I think that's how it goes. Yeah.
It's pretty crazy, isn't it? All this modern medicine and stuff, and they're still reverting to things like transferring poo and leeches and stuff like that. It always fascinates me.
It is.
They should have just stuck with the natural stuff to start with. Why didn't bloody Rockefeller think of that? What an idiot. If he could have, really harnessed the whole natural medical industry, and then at least, if we had elites making money off us, at least we'd all be well. And he could make money off staying well instead of people getting sick.
Yeah, but the problem is that if you're well, then you're in a healthy place here and here to fight the good fight. And so that is the benefit of not only making money off of your off of the sick care model, but it also keeps you and a lot of people in that slave mindset, right?
Yeah, they don't want us alive, basically. So that's the last thing they do. Sorry, I just had a perfect world moment. Forgive me.
You could be forgiven. Thank you. I don't know if we will here, but somebody will. Probably.
It's Halloween. I don't know. I might have to wait till tomorrow.
Yeah, definitely.
So, as people who don't give medical advice, right? Because that's not what we do, right?
Don't do it. Yep.
Yeah.
Never.
No. I recommend against swapping poop with strangers.
Yeah.
I would also advise against that. Be careful who you swap your fecal matter with. Indeed. I think that's strong life advice going forward.
Well, any juices for that matter, really.
Yeah.
Have y'all seen that South Park episode with Tom Brady? Where they're seeking out Tom Brady's poop to do poop swaps on them so that they can have his superpowers?
I think that I have actually, but it's been a couple years, right?
Oh, yeah, it's been a few years. But what if that there's really that, and that's why they're doing so much sewer surveillance, is because they're really trying to find where Tom Brady's pooping, because in the episode he was hiding his poop so that they wouldn't get a hold of it because it gave them too much power. Yeah.
I think if there's probably a lot that they can tell from the fecal matter collection that they're doing. Absolutely. It's like, biosurveillance state on crack. Really.
Well, if they want my poop, that's fine, but I'm going to sell it to them. They can't have it for free.
You can at least pay me.
Yeah. Pay for poop. Pay for poop. Pay for poop. Well, if they want to hang around in the sewers like the little rats and cockroaches they are and do all that sort of stuff, go for your life. Go for your life.
Well, they definitely do. Out. We know that Bill Gates loves drinking the poop water.
Mm-hmm.
So
he does. I'm sure he does love it.
I bet he does. And he honestly, we should take health advice from him because he looks like the epitome of health. If I think of health, this guy, yes,
absolutely,
yeah,
100%. That's the first thing that comes to mind.
Me too.
You should see what Stumpy knows about him.
I should get some intel. Yes.
Yes, please ask Stumpy, because we would like to know the inside scoop, and maybe Stumpy thinks he's legit. Maybe Stumpy does think that he is actually trying to save the world with his contributions.
I'll buy Stumpy a little tiny PI hat. Send him on a mission.
Will you also get him a little tiny PI notebook and a little tiny
pencil?
Yes, and
a pencil that's loaded with
glass.
little bullets. Yes, yes, definitely. Oh yes, a magnifying glass.
Yeah, and is the hat going to look like Sherlock Holmes' hat?
Yes, possibly.
Thank you.
We'll see whatever fits his spikes.
Okay. I feel like that's going to work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. We've solved that.
Okay, so moving right along. Miss Stella Q, what do you have for us?
Well, not a whole lot. There's not a whole lot happening. I mean, there is stuff happening, but, you know. There's a lot of fires. It's been not a good fire time. There's been lots of houses lost, and there's been some lives lost as well over the last, 3 weeks. One of the interesting spots where the fire is burning right now, quite a nasty fire, and someone has died. Do you remember a while ago I brought a story, well, you will remember, it was in Queensland, in a place near, what's the name of it? Wayne place near a place called Tara. And there was like, conspiracy theorists there was 3 people called the Train family. Anyway, it ended up where the police did a raid and 2 young cops were executed. And do you remember that story?
I'm trying to think about that. It's not ringing a bell, which is odd. Okay. I feel like I would have remembered it.
It was around the time, let me jog your memory with this. It was around about the time where it was December last year. That's right, December last year. I think it was the 12th, actually. The cops were talking about how police officers were sacrificed. Does that ring a bell?
That does ring a little bit of a bell, yeah.
Yeah. So it was a big thing, and then after, it was questionable about the whole intention of it all. Anyway, I won't go into it all now, but that area was under discrepancy afterwards because it was apparently targeted for a gas company or something like that. So that was one possible rumor, but there was some fairly solid evidence that I sort of saw about that, but without actually going like fully deep into it, you just don't know. The other weird thing was, after these 3 people were killed by police and 2 police officers and a neighbour, so 6 people died that day allegedly, and there was a fire. It was all very, very sus. And then after that, the police, or the police department, or however you call them, were talking about purchasing that property to then turn it into like a police training centre, academy-ish sort of type area. It's like, that's super weird.
That's weird.
There's lots of weird things going on.
Yeah.
So back to today. Now, so that's where the bushfire is primarily. All that sort of area is. Let me please give me a moment.
So yeah, while you do that, I was going to ask you, when you had mentioned at the very beginning of your story about some fires happening, I was curious if there was something out of place, Lahaina-esque, Acapulco-esque, if there was something odd. And I would say that this is something odd. The fact that an odd crime had involved police officers, and as you said, the word sacrifice, and a piece of land that they had discussed, and now all of a sudden something's happening there. I mean, it sounds very weird.
It's just, look, it's not beyond the realms of possibility, because Australia is a place of bushfires. We get a lot of bushfires. It's not unusual. It's just, I don't know. I mean, like, it's just another thing, okay? It's just another connection with this place. Not much you can do about it, but I don't know whether that was burned very much during the 2019-2020 fires. I'm not sure how that particular area fared in all that. So that would be interesting to look at. So, yeah, there's been like a huge amount of, I think it's 54 houses were lost or something. So it's quite large. Anyway, it's just one to watch. I just thought I'd mention it because it was a connection with a previous story and another, I don't know, a weird story that we had.
And it sounded like it kind of caught your, put up your spidey senses a little bit. So
yeah, well, that's
I think
the
that's
original story with the well, the massacre, we'll say. There was all sorts of, that was very much pointing at the conspiracy theorist. That was when they were really, really trying to, the police were not only trying to get back some credibility after all the things they did to everyone through 2021. Everyone basically hated them. And so they all stood up there and, they're doing their unusual things that police officers wouldn't generally do, which is particularly, at the top level. They're not really supposed to, of course they're human, but they're not supposed to really show, emotion or anything like that when they're reporting on things or bringing information. And yet they were all, the leader was, trying to hold back tears and all this sort of thing. And I even have, I've got to be careful, but I wonder about those two alleged officers, whether they even existed. Anyway.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's fair. In today's day and time, the understanding that we have crisis actors that we know are intentionally put there to help lead us astray, I think it's something that is worth considering. Like, maybe we're crazy, maybe we're way off base, but why not at least have it as something that we consider, Yeah.
It was just unusual, the whole thing. As the young officers were very green and they were sort of sent into this situation. That was kind of weird. All sorts of things. And then, of course, in the papers you get, they were young, they were attractive, the officers. One photo of the gentleman, the young guy, of course, he was standing there holding puppies. The other one was the young lady standing there with her mom. It's just all very the typical propaganda that you would expect.
Yes, heartstring pulling.
Yeah. Everything, every angle. And I think it actually did sort of work in one way. I think there were some people that were kind of a lot more sympathetic towards the police are just doing their best, that sort of. So there was, again, multifaceted. It was them trying to earn back some credibility. It was them saying, well, we're on top of this. It was them pointing at the conspiracy theorist type people. Now, the stuff that guy was... the stuff that he was sort of like posting and everything is the kind of stuff we normally talk about. So, yeah, as the agenda goes, they're trying to make out that anyone who thinks outside of the square is basically crazy. So that's the whole thing. That was the big premise. And it was not long before the Ohio thing, which I thought was weird because their names were Train. And it was like, And then there's this train disaster. And I've started thinking, there's all these weird connections, from one thing to the next. That some things are numbers, some things are names.
Yes.
Weird.
And something else that made me think about it was when you were talking about this story was the fact that I believe there was one or two officers that were on site for George Floyd who were also brand new, like had just gotten started.
Right. Yeah.
And obviously Derek Chauvin was not one of them, but there was a couple of other officers that were apparently extremely green to be involved with that. So that in and of itself is interesting. This like first week on the job kind of thing. And then you saying that it was a similar situation. That's weird.
That's an interesting connection. I mean, an interesting observation. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess, so maybe we can.
They would do that because they'd have to sort of, those young people would just do anything they were told in that situation, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Be completely compliant without question. So they're handy and they're probably expendable if things came to that. So
yeah, maybe we should do a little deep dive on that, a side-by-side comparison of just the similarities, maybe a little compare and contrast, something like that. I would be curious to see.
I'm sure you could probably pick a number of events and find the same similarities.
Yeah, I bet so.
We've got this disinformation bill thing coming in. Well, I don't know if it's actually coming in. I'm a bit lost as to where we are with that, actually. I think there's still a petition going till maybe another couple of days from memory. So I'm not sure what's going to happen with that, but
That's concerning.
It's not going to, it's very concerning. Yes. It's not going to be good.
It's not, it almost makes me feel like, I mean, what's going to happen? You know, are we going to have to say, so I really want to reiterate that I totally believe everything about this story, and you better know that I believe it. You know, like you're going to have to start talking in code.
I think we're going to have to learn some sign language.
Yeah. I would say so. I'm concerned about that. It's not like people are not going to get around it, but you know, you don't want to have to do that. You would rather obviously be able to just speak freely. But we know that they are desperate to shut us up. They don't want us speaking out against the narrative, questioning the narrative. When something's an obvious false flag, an obvious operation, obviously, you know, disinformation, and people start calling it out, they don't like that.
No, and I'm just thinking about the vacuous world that we'll be left in when all truth has been eradicated, and that's not just in media and that's going to be spiritual as well. It's just going to be a void of, I don't know. I can't even imagine. Awful.
Yeah, truth is a person, right?
Yeah.
Truth is him.
Lost Ando for a little while, but hopefully he might come back.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get him back. He's working today. He's on the road, so we will we'll move on and hope that he comes back to us. Now, did you have anything else that you wanted to add about the disinformation aspect, or?
I haven't really brought anything, and I haven't really been looking into it, so it's probably best not to mention it too much. But, you know, it's just, I think it's sort of happening pretty much everywhere, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Australia, yeah. They just want to control everything. It's going to be sort of like, I suppose, eventually we might get back to the world before the internet, which, you know, not such a bad thing, really. Yeah, although I'm, you know, that's going to be a bummer to miss connecting with people in other countries, for instance.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll see where it goes. But I'm sure, as you say, we generally, people are pretty creative and clever, and I'm sure we'll find some workarounds, and you know, they can smother us as much as they want, but we will still find a way to get around it.
Always.
I wish I could remember who it was. Somebody I was just listening to in the last 24 hours was saying the way, I'll just paraphrase, the way you can tell if you're controlled or not is if you're not allowed to say anything against your government or authorities, then you're controlled.
It was actually Ando that shared that video with us in the WTF forum chat. And yes, who are you not allowed to criticize?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Exactly. That was it, yeah.
Yeah. And on this podcast, we're not going to tell you, but you know, do the math. Who can you not criticize, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Think about it even. A lot of people don't even think about it.
Yeah, they don't, but they need to start. So we have Headband Harvest. Shout out Headband Harvest.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us live. They say, howdy from Brisbane. I usually listen on podcasts.
Unreal. Oh, welcome. Thank you. It's so good to have you. Brisbane. Hope it's going well up there. Probably pretty warm.
Yeah, so I was wondering, Stella, if you guys knew each other, but
no, I don't. Well,
how lovely.
Maybe they know me.
Lovely to have you here. Thank you.
It is very lovely to have you here, and yes, enjoy your day.
Absolutely. Thank you. So, and one more thing that I wanted to add on the topic of cracking down on free speech, what we have happening here in the States. Now, okay, I want to get your thoughts on this, Stella. Now, this is not necessarily my story, but it's the current thing. You know, we always know we got to have a current thing. So we have all these other psyops and false flags swirling in the ether, but we have the main thing that's swirling over our heads at all times, right? Mm-hmm. So for a long time, we know what it was. It was the cold and flu season. Then after that, we know what it was. It was Russia, Ukraine. And now we know what it is, right? Mm-hmm. So it's Israel, Palestine. in the battle royale. We have people at each other's throats over it. We have despicable politicians, particularly egregious here in the States, and they are begging people to want to go to war. They are war pigs. They are pounding the drums of war, and it's really disgusting. And I'm going to go ahead and give you number one, because she keeps popping up in our Twitter feed, even though I don't follow her, and that's Nikki Haley.
I don't know who this person is, and I'm very keen to find out. So thank you for bringing her up.
Yes. So she is a politician from South Carolina, right? She is conservative, which is not true, obviously, but that's what she goes by. And she is also in the presidential race at this time. Now, my understanding is that President Trump is leagues and miles ahead of any presidential candidate on the right, meaning
even RFK Jr.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure it's definitely over RFK Jr. and anybody in the conservative field. So Nikki Haley, Ron DeSantis, Mike Pence was also running, and
Mike Pence on fire.
Exactly, Mike liar Pence on fire. But he just dropped out this week, so he said, "It's not my time." And I thought, you're right. It isn't your time. It's never going to be your time. You despicable mother. Beep. I'm trying to cut down on my cussing. I had a conversation with Angry Tiger, and I've been trying to cut down. I'm going to see if I can find a picture of Nikki Haley here to show you. She is... So here's the interesting...
Show me the accused.
Yeah, I will.
The accused.
Here she is. She's a weird name. Nimarata Nikki Haley née Randhawa, born January 20th, 1972, an American politician and diplomat who served as the 116th governor of South Carolina from 2011 to 2017, and as the 29th United States ambassador to the United Nations for 2 years. From January 2017 through December 2018. But she's also a member of the Republican Party. Haley is the first Indian American to serve in a presidential cabinet.
Oh, okay. And she's indigenous. All right.
Yeah, but she looks...
That fits the narrative?
It does definitely fit the narrative, but she looks like a regular-ass white person. All right, let me... pull her up.
Excuse me, Ash. Just,
yes.
Do you need to say something, Ando? You sort of get the feeling you need to say something. No?
No, I just got back. I just pulled off a dock. I was gonna say though that Mike Pence is out. He bailed just a couple days ago.
Just this week. Yeah, he said it's not my time.
And dropped the pence.
Like a hot rock. So, yes, so Nikki Haley, big-time warmonger here. We also have the treacherous descendant of Senator John McCain, who was a famous warmonger as well, his daughter, Meghan McCain. So she's not a politician, but what she is a public figure and a talking head, and she was a propagandist on the awful talk show The View here in the States with those horrible...
Yep.
Vile women. So she was on that for a while. Now she's a talking head on Twitter. She gets on there every day, and she can't talk enough about how we should go to war for Israel. And it's really disgusting. So that basically we have people banging the war drums. I'm gonna get to my point, people. And these politicians who can't wait to send, other people's kids to fight and die for Israel. Yeah, and the money that they steal from the poor and working class and the middle class and send to other countries to blow other people up. No matter where you're at on this side, and I'm not saying that there's nuance, and I'm not saying that I'm a forensic historian and I understand everything. I don't. But I'm just saying, please use your critical thinking here and know that you're being lied to, probably on both sides. Yes. Headband Harvest said another Pocahontas, and I would agree with that. Mm-hmm. Although the interesting thing about Nikki Haley is that I have not really heard it bandied about like the woman of color narrative. Interestingly enough, they don't really.
Well, she's dot Indian, so
I know
she's not feather Indian like Pocahontas is. Like Pocahontas.
Pocahontas.
Oh, okay. So not that kind of Indian.
Right, not Native American, but it's still strange that they don't play it up like, well, as a woman of color, and I never would have known that. She just looks basic to me.
Oh, they might be keeping that one up their sleeve for when it's relevant or more important or they need it or whatever.
Yeah, possibly so. But what you have going on though is a lot of people in the conservative space, I don't necessarily mean the politicians, but just regular conservative people. There's a lot of overlap in the freedom community with them during COVID times and even during the Ukraine war, so it was interesting because I was like, well, we really agree on a lot of stuff. And it felt like they were so close to just seeing totally through the veil, totally through the matrix, right? Mm-hmm. And then as soon as this conflict started, they're behaving, the right is, in the way that the left was behaving during the other stuff. Like, they're just as tyrannical. They're just as okay with the people on the left and like a lot of students who are protesting in a pro-Palestine way. They want them shut down. They don't want them to have freedom of speech. They want them to be punished. They're fine with them being doxxed and having their lives and their careers ruined. They're fine with people losing everything for speaking out against Israel. And I'm not saying one way or the other. I don't care what your opinion is, but if you are conservative and you saw literally everything that has happened the last 4 years, especially, you spent the last 8 years saying fake news. Okay, so it's fake news, and then all of a sudden this one thing happens, and you don't know it's fake news anymore.
I'm gonna remind you that it's not the right. It's the right portion of Globo Homo. It is the conservatives that are doing this. They're the Zionist philo-Semites. The real right wing is quite the opposite, and usually very much against the wars.
Yes, and Ando does always correct me on this, and I appreciate that. It's true, but you know who I'm talking about. Who I mean, right?
Yeah, the Shapiros out there. Yeah, those kind of people. The Judah Peterstein. Yeah, those kind of people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, was that you, Ando, that posted something about Shapiro's father?
No, I don't know Shapiro's father. I know Netanyahu's father was a terrorist, so like father, like son, but I don't know about Shapiro's father.
But okay, I
can't remember.
I had heard, so I definitely feel like there's a connection with Shapiro's mom and Hollywood, right? And then he used to work for Breitbart, and there's certainly an accusation out there that he is basically on the Mossad payroll. And that would not surprise me at all, because we saw the sudden rise of the Daily Wire as, this huge company. And we all know how it is for real podcasters out there. Like, you're 99% of the time, you're grinding it out for a really long time. And you're doing the value for value stuff. You don't just all of a sudden have this like multi-million-dollar operation and all these people on your staff and then enough money to hire Jordan B. Peterson. So
yeah.
It's,
I mean, you learn to recognize it after a while. I mean, it's all quite obvious really when you know what to look for.
Yes.
But this, what you're talking about, this sort of behaviour, this is like the extreme pendulum swing. This was spoken about and predicted by a couple of people I've heard. Hey, Keelthor. So yeah, it just sounds like this is the extreme swing back to the right or whatever. Which worries me about what the next extreme swing is going to be, because that's going to be very bent.
Yes, and I didn't even finish asking you so I didn't even finish getting my point, and I want to get your thoughts on this, and Ando's. But in the meanwhile, we have Keelthor in the chat.
What up,
and
bud?
He hasn't been feeling that well, so we want to wish Keel a speedy recovery, and thanks for joining us in the chat, my friend.
Yeah, get well, mate.
Yeah, and send us a super chat if you feel like it, Keel. We would love that.
Super chat.
Your comment gets moved to the front kill for that money. I'm kidding, everyone, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Stella, so this is the thing, and Ando, want to get your feedback on this. So we know that they're trying to bring the narrative back around to the whole domestic terrorist thing. So they spent all these many years declaring MAGA Republican extremists are domestic terrorists. If you fly the GATS flag, you're a domestic terrorist. All this stuff, right? Like they're desperate to call anyone who doesn't go along with the narrative a domestic terrorist. And they also spent this time letting, BLM riots get away with it for the most part. And that was never called an insurrection or anything like that. And although I believe that whether it's January 6th, whether it's BLM riots, or whether it is maybe even some of these protests, especially the ones where they're saying like hateful, anti-Semitic speeches being, chanted or whatever, I think that we have to consider that maybe there are crisis actors involved in that, like stirring
100%.
up trouble, right?
100%. Yep.
So, but even having laid that groundwork, even with that understanding, you have a lot of people that appear to be like left-leaning younger people that are protesting for Palestine. And the powers that shouldn't be don't like that. But it's the white conservative MAGA person or the liberty person that they're trying to call a domestic terrorist. And they're trying to like bring back home the war on terror, but it's everyone that they wanted to call a terrorist is supporting Israel. So how are they going to do it? What are they going to do? How are they going to spin this? I know we don't know. We're just speculating, but I'm curious to what you thought about that.
Are you trying to lead me into the thoughts that there is going to likely be more Muslim terrorism in our very near future?
Well, that's certainly something that I wanted to touch on. And I do have a theory that we formulated today on the phone when we were talking that I do want to talk about. But I'm curious, how is this going to tie back in? Like, how could you tie in Islamic or Muslim extremists, whatever they want to spin it as, domestic terrorists with the people here that they're calling domestic terrorists, whenever the people that they want to call domestic terrorists here agree with the current thing?
Well, it doesn't have to work. They've done this before. With this war thing, how they've quickly flipped on my body, my choice when it came to vaccines,
sure,
etc. Yeah. They're not intellectually honest people, so it doesn't matter what happens. They're going to push as they push, because this is Joe Biden's clown world. He's the ringleader. He's not really the ringleader. It's probably Obama, Susan Rice, Valerie Jarrett, but the clown world that is happening in our face, and they just do it.
Honk honk, mother effers.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay, so that makes sense. I guess that where I get hung up is because I can get very literal, and I get my mind in one path, and then I'm like, okay, how are you going to do this? But I wasn't really considering like they'll just do whatever they do. They don't care if it makes sense. If they tell their certain little activated cult, like this is what you think and this is what you do, then they'll just think that.
Yeah, they're all being led by the nose, by a ring through their nose, it doesn't really have to make sense. They're just going to go with whatever it's all social engineering.
Yeah.
People en masse are so pliable. It's ridiculous. It's not that hard. It's easy to walk up and lie to somebody, and you just make shit up and just say to them, hey, this is blah, blah, and they'll go, oh, really? Without a thought. And it's like, no, actually, I just made that up to see if you were going to question it. But, it happens all the time.
Yeah.
You failed as a human. It's just so, it's part of it is the confusion as well. It's the confliction. People like us, we do get caught up. It's very easy to get caught up in those, like you're talking about, of trying to make some sense, trying to put some logic into this. The whole basis of this is to have no logic. So, overall, in a structural sense.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to break the structure.
100%. It's totally... Go ahead.
It not making sense is also part. It helps to demoralize us. So.
I think you're right about that. So Keel said, super chat, space is neither fake nor gay. Well, we have some people that would debate you on that, my friend.
It's fake and gay.
I'm not at this time because I don't care. I'm on this spinning whatever it happens to be, and it doesn't matter to me because I can't go anywhere. But I also tend to lean with Stella that they never went to the moon, and it's fake and gay. So,
well,
Keel said,
if it is a void, we never went there.
What now?
Right? If it is a void, we never went there.
Yeah, we avoided
exactly.
it.
If it's good one. Because that would be freaking impossible. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Well,
so,
considering they could, they did that mission to the moon with the sort of computing power that's probably in my handheld calculator from 1993. Yeah. Good one, guys. Got us. You got us good.
Oh, yeah. So, okay. Now, having droned on and on a lot, my apologies. I can get very
not at all.
Like, I just all the details that I want to get out, and sometimes it's a messy ball of yarn. Okay. So thank you for bearing with me.
I always enjoy your dilemmas.
Thank you.
So does the dog.
And Molly's. She's got
there's one right now. So, okay. So then to get to my
you're a little low in level now.
Oh. Sorry about that. How's that?
It's all right. You just went down a little bit, that's all. Oh, good.
Strong.
I can still hear you.
Okay. I don't know what happened. That's weird. But anyway, so my apologies in that regard, but
the dog stole some of your decibels.
I think so. Stella, will you see if you can bring it up from your end?
Oh, maybe? Okay. Sure. No
Just
worries.
take a peek and maybe see
I will have a look
if
if
there's an adjustment to be made. But anyway, so then my theory, because Ando and I were talking about, well, Ando, do you want to tell them, or I guess you already said it, but you believe that we will have another terrorist attack on American soil, correct? And I think that's fair. I think you might be frozen, Ando. Oh, there you are. Go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, it was based off of something that I had heard from, I think it was Salty Cracker was talking to what's that guy's name? Darn it, can't remember his name, but he does another kind of YouTube show. He's really popular. But he's not an unknown like us. Anyway, they were talking about it, and he thinks that that's one of the reasons. Obviously they're shipping them all here. So, and then they made it their priority to bring them all in from Afghanistan, and even Mayorkas put out a memo that said that we're on high alert because they're afraid people like me are going to go attack these poor little Afghanis that they made sure to get back to the United States while they left some troops high and dry and people that were providing medical support and whatnot. Anyway, the idea is, we're getting inundated. Dearborn, Michigan is definitely not the same place it was 10 years ago, nor is Minneapolis, Minnesota, and a variety of places have been inundated with this stuff. I mean, there's a lot in the trucking industry as well. And if they could do something that that they could blame on Hamas, then it gets everybody catalyzed that's sort of on the fence. I'm still going to be against it. You're still going to be against it, but it gets all the people that are on the fence, and then it also gives people the ammunition to the Free Palestine people on the left to say, well, they attacked our blah blah blah. So then getting into the Batman thing, right? We were talking about that earlier.
Yeah.
Yep. On the WTF forum on Sunday, we had my friend Rob Brisky on, and Rob was saying that a conservative radio host in New Mexico, Eddie Aragon, I believe is his name, he was he was saying that he would have nothing to do with the U2 concert, the crazy U2 concert that they're hyping up all kinds of big. So not saying that something definitely will happen to that U2 concert. Obviously, I don't know that. But, if something does happen to that, or I think, who was it? I think it was Salty still saying that it might be a Taylor Swift concert. And they've been hyping the crap out of Taylor Swift too, and she's been doing satanic rituals during her concerts, and people have been forgetting them, which is another weird thing. But
that's
yeah.
Weird. Maybe we should go into that sometime.
Hang on, what did you say?
Yeah,
hang on. People have been forgetting them. Is that what you just said?
Oh yeah. Yeah, people have been losing their memory of the Taylor Swift concert.
Remember. I think that Isaac Weishaupt has even talked about that when he covered Taylor a little bit in her concerts, and there's definitely a lot of odd imagery there.
Yeah, and she's a possible daughter of
Crowley, right?
No, Anton LaVey.
Anton LaVey.
Gotcha, yes. Gotcha. Okay, yeah, she does look like that. So so now.
Identical.
Bloody oath, she does. Yeah.
She does.
Yeah.
So let me tie this in, my little theory per this conversation. And the other thing is that you had Senator Ted Cruz recently say that there will very likely be a terrorist attack on American soil, and you also had the FBI issue a statement here. So they're putting it out there in the ether. And of course, for me, as soon as I hear them say that, I'm like, yeah, because you're in on it, because you're planning it. You're going to make sure that it happens. You're desperate to get the United States into World War III because this is a huge step along the Great Reset, and you need it. We all know it. It's very obvious, right? Mm-hmm. So then my official story, I will get into in a second here, but that we know that Matthew Perry, the Friend star, passed away, and he has been signing his Instagram post as Matman, and there was even a little like Batman imagery in one of the images, right?
Really?
So that's weird. But what Ando and I were talking about today is if there was a terrorist attack, where would it be and how would they do it? And I think that it may be something big. And that was what we were thinking in the conversation. So he mentioned, and like Rob did on WTF Forum, the dome, or whatever they're calling that thing.
The Iron Dome.
The YouTube concert.
Soundball or something.
That's so
orb,
weird.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
At least.
So that came up, because we were saying like it might be a huge concert, because we know that there have been a lot of weird stuff happening at concerts lately, right? Like even
just getting more rituals than concerts now, aren't they?
Exactly. Yes. And we know that right when things were kind of starting to get back going, you had the Astro World disaster, and there was a lot of weird symbolism. There was the people in our space were thinking human sacrifice and all kinds of weird stuff. And Travis Scott has kind of been associated with the occult side of things anyway. And so I was thinking, Ando was thinking maybe concerts, and I think that's fair, but I was thinking NFL for some reason. We just lost Ando. Hopefully he'll be back in a sec.
The reports that were just coming out, whether it's true or not, I think it sort of probably was. The reports that were coming out from the Middle East about that festival, which I thought was kind of weird, because it's like we had that weird festival thing that happened with Burning Man.
Yes.
Not that anything particularly terrible took place, thank goodness.
Right.
But there was a lot of weirdness came out of that. A lot of rumors. I mean, as you'd expect. And then there was the festival thing that happened in the Middle East.
Yep, in Israel.
Sounds like it was a bit of which is what you're describing really. So I guess the next stage is to have it happen outside of the Middle East.
So did y'all catch the note on that I think about a week before that event they moved it to that location?
Yes,
which is kind of weird.
The
fact they last minute moved it. It's the first time that security's ever been breached, and a lot of the people that died were very likely caught in crossfire. So there's a lot of things happening with that, and I hope
It's a
that
pretty
gets fully
crazy thing.
investigated. It won't be because everybody's just mad.
It's a pretty crazy thing to sort of try to attempt to do in these sort of hot times. Let's hold a festival. Well, it's a bit dumb, really, I would think. I mean, some people, I guess, are of the mindset of, no, we're not going to let this evil overtake our lives. We're just going to go ahead and live our lives. Okay, I can get with that thinking, but there's a point of common sense that got breached there, I think. Unless it was obviously an engineered thing. I don't know. There's just as good a chance of it.
I feel like it was. Like, I feel like normally if Hamas tried to do something to Israel, it normally was pretty ineffective. I don't think it really did much damage.
Yeah, and look at also what came out of that festival thing. Wasn't that chick that supposed alleged woman?
Yes, the rise
thrown
of
in the back of the truck,
yes,
and then apparently paraded half naked around. Now that was a silicon dummy. I have no doubt that footage was a silicon dummy. It just didn't look like a human.
This was
so that all came out of that festival thing. So I guess fully engineered.
In my opinion, that was the introduction of the influencer atrocity propaganda. So we've had atrocity propaganda before, but this is really the first time that we saw all these many super attractive influencer types. And they were influencers, right? They looked like models on their Instagram pages. That was what was being shown to people. So it was very obvious that they were co-opting the influencer narrative for their war propaganda. But it was unique in that it was kind of the first time that had happened and had been used in that way.
They're definitely attacking the influencer, actually. As you point out, look at Andrew Tate, I mean, he's a created character too, probably, but they're trying to kill the independent speech, the voice. It's such a weird thing, isn't it? That entrepreneurial influencer fame. It's so substanceless. I can't get with it.
The other thing too. So here's a thought, and we've talked about this in a lot of conversations, but that they are sunsetting the traditional celebrity that we know of, right?
Yes, definitely.
And so you have the sunset of that, and then you have the rise of the influencer. But you think like, well, both are people that can be controlled, right? True. However, what you don't have or let's say maybe it's easier to have in an influencer space is an AI created influencer.
Yeah.
And that you maybe get to the point where, I mean, they're already out there, but you get to the point where it's, they're propping up AI. So they're totally controllable in a way that humans still sometimes will speak out. They still don't always follow their handlers, or they break their programming. Look at Brittany, like that kind of thing, right?
Whistleblow or something. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So maybe that's why the theme of influencer came about anyway. I mean, it's possible that it was an organic part of the internet and they're just weaponizing that and then transitioning to AI. But I just feel like there's something to that. So the influencer was definitely going to be what was selling products, what people were looking at, seeing online. And now, as you said, Stella, it's the weaponization of that for propaganda purposes, whether that is for war propaganda or whether that's anti-free speech propaganda, whatever it may be.
They are absolutely obsessed with having total control. It's just beyond ridiculous. I've got the Motels song just constantly in loop in the back of my head. Total control. I'd sell my soul for total control.
Yes.
It's just been running in the back of my head like a loop for, a couple of years now.
Yeah.
Used to be in my repertoire too, but yeah, so true. It's interesting actually to look back at a lot of songs, and we know that some of these people were engineered. Let's go back to Tavistock, and I'm talking about like singers, famous singers, etc. It's soul destroying actually to find these things out. I mean, but anyway, you look back at some of the lyrics of some of these songs, and a lot of people sort of just they hear a song, they like a song, and they sing along with the lyrics, but they never think about the lyrics, like what they're saying or what they're meaning, because like it was different. Songs were a little bit different back then. Not saying that all songs now are, just churned out. Some are still stories, etc. But yeah, most songs are well, folk songs is music of the people. Basically, that's the definition of folk music, and they're usually stories. Bringing oral stories, etc.
Yeah,
not all of them. So yes, it's interesting to look back at some of these lyrics, and we could probably map some of the things just by studying lyrics alone, really.
Absolutely. I definitely think there's something to the subconscious element of these
100%.
songs that we repeat over and over, and they're catchy and you don't even realize the words.
Yep.
For sure. Programming, predictive programming,
It's hypnotism,
all the
basically.
things. Yes, yes. Keel said,
suggestion.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. Yeah, something like that, Keel. So I wanted to tie this back together, finish up my theory here. So basically, my theory is that we have heard the message that a terrorist attack is going to happen here. We know that serves the predator class, and they want that. It's put out in the ether. And we predict that it may be somewhere really big this time. And we have precedent for predictive programming. So in the movie Batman Returns, or is it Batman Dark Knight? Either one. It's one of the Christopher Nolan,
Heath Ledger?
Christian Bale.
Oh, okay.
Yes, Heath Ledger was the Joker in one of these. But this wasn't. I didn't
see any of them. So
yeah, it wasn't the Heath Ledger one, though. So Heath Ledger was the Joker. This was the one with Bane. So I feel like it might be Dark Knight Returns. But anyway, there's a scene where Dark Knight Rises. Thank you, Keel. So Bane basically hijacks an entire football stadium. It's Pittsburgh, actually. The Pittsburgh Steelers stadium, if I recall correctly. Keel, please let me know if it's true. So basically you have this mass event happening at a football stadium. And when Ando and I were talking today, NFL is what came to mind for me. And I feel like there's been a lot of occult stuff happening with the NFL. Sure, they've been in on the payroll, all of that stuff. We know that. But then we had these super weird, last year, the Damar Hamlin incident. We just had another Buffalo Bills player carted off, and the ambulance had 33 on the back, which was Damar Hamlin's number. The guy had the same initials as Damar Hamlin. Who knows? It's weird. And now you also have, as Ando was saying, that Taylor Swift has been hyped so much. Like everyone was losing their minds because Taylor Swift. Exactly, because Taylor Swift is dating Travis Kelce, a Kansas City Chief. She's at the games. It's all over the news. It's obvious propaganda. He is now a spokesperson for Pfizer for the jab. So it's so bizarre. So
2 things at once. He loves 2 things at once.
Yeah.
Have you seen that ad? It's terrible. It's just such a crummy scam. I mean,
I haven't, but it's just sickening, and it's obvious, and it's so dumb. It's like they're probably not even dating. They probably hate each other's guts, right? They're probably just being paid.
Never met each other.
Maybe not.
Oh, it's a jagged little crusty world that we live in, isn't it?
Yeah.
Strange shit. But I was just going to comment on they're so low. They bring in these sweet little girls like Taylor Swift and Miley Cyrus. And they're all so wholesome and sweet. Britney's another one. And then you just watch right before your eyes. You see your daughters, your daughter sort of goes, oh, I really like, what was it? Hannah Montana. Yeah, yeah. I really, and I was thinking, oh yeah, she's a good role model. Yeah, you can watch a bit of that or whatever. And then all of a sudden, we turn and we become demonic little long-nailed vipers. But it's very sad to watch.
It really is. And honestly, here's something weird about Hannah Montana. She had 2 personalities. She had 2 lives in the show. At the time, I never thought anything of it.
The duality concept, yeah.
Yeah, and the kind of like the MK Ultra, the split personality, right? like the performer personality.
Project
and yeah, it's really bizarre. So
sad.
Was she also involved with Harley Pasternak?
I don't know. Harley Pasternak was the trainer that Kanye West called out for being a handler, basically. He was a Canadian military guy, and he even is in an interview stating that they played around with pharmaceuticals to help people. Yes, to help people, soldiers, like just not need sleep and weird stuff like that. So now he's a Hollywood trainer. Sort of. Exactly. Yeah, the super soldiers. And he's a Hollywood trainer. And he's been a trainer to all of these people who have had very weird things happen. So obviously we know about Kanye's breakdown, where he was put in a mental institution, and he said it was basically against his will and that there was nothing wrong with him, but they couldn't handle him. So that's why they did it. We had Ellen Page, who said she was hearing voices and all of a sudden was transgender and had the whole surgery, which is debilitating. It's genital mutilation, and it's cutting off her breasts. She'll never be able to have children, even if she wanted to. Then I feel like Mac Miller was a young, very talented rapper who ended up overdosing and dying. That was also a client of Pasternak. So there's a lot of weird stuff with this guy. But I'm not sure if Miley was associated with him or not, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Go back to Cyrus's, though. Billy Ray resurrected his career for a brief moment a couple of years ago, doing the song with the gay rapper
Lil Nas X.
Yeah,
Old Town Road.
I missed that.
Made shoes, satanic shoes with blood in the soles.
Yeah.
Literal
well,
blood.
Here's another down the Cyrus rabbit hole. Billy Ray Cyrus was always presented as a good old boy, like, oh shucks, I'm just a good old boy with a mullet, and I'm the nicest guy in the world, and I'm from the mountains of Tennessee. Hee-ho! That's how he was presented, and just had a sudden rise to fame. Well, guess what? Billy Ray Cyrus, either his father or his grandfather, was literally a Federal Reserve president.
Okay.
And his wife, they're divorced now. And actually, we'll put this in the show notes. Really Graceful did a video on this. It's a quick video, very informative, but it's very suspicious. So then Trish Cyrus, which was Billy Ray Cyrus's wife, Miley's mother, like I said, they're divorced now, but she also has a butterfly tattoo, and I'm pretty sure it's like a pentagram tattoo as well.
Yeah, well, the two mixed together is
Yeah,
the butterfly is telltale signs of monarch, and so some son of a Federal Reservist. Would you be surprised if he sold his daughter into globalist prostitution?
Nope,
not at all.
No,
not at all. And she displayed the classic signs, right? I mean, and I don't even mean like eye covering and all the weird, unbelievably sexual stuff for such a young person. I don't even mean that. I mean, she chopped off all of her hair. She dyed it blonde. That's one of the things that they do go through. Katy Perry did it. Miley did it. Britney shaved her head. Kanye dyed his hair. I mean, it's a weird thing. And so she's been part of that, And then with Trish having the symbolism, well, I've got one more little cherry to add on that. Dolly Parton is Miley Cyrus's godmother. Yeah. And we know that Dolly was promoting the jab. Yes. Then we talked about exactly the whole theme of Dolly's park, Dollywood, is butterflies. And recently we showed this maybe on a WTF forum episode, but Dolly was featured. I don't even know what magazine it was, but the blog site Vigilant Citizen, they're always calling out this kind of symbolism. And they had pictures of Dolly with a leather eye patch, two separate leather eye patches in two separate images. So one of them was a star eye patch covering her eye, and the other one was a butterfly covering her eye.
What do you know?
What do you know?
Let's not forget, Dolly was one of the first people to throw money at Moderna in order to make sure that everybody, had the correct software that can manipulate at some point.
She called people selfish that didn't want to get the shot.
Yeah, and she did that disgusting thing where you turn a song into a promotion. Vaccine, 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 vaccine. Yeah, she did that. Oh,
I
shoot me
pretty
now.
bad.
Shoot me now.
I prefer the meme. It's a little cat paw and it says toe bean, toe bean,
yeah,
toe bean, toe bean.
That was cute.
That's better. Okay, go ahead, Ando. Sorry, Ando. Hold on one sec.
Service enough.
Kill said Dollywood is great, definitely worth a visit. I would have thought that too, but I'm not giving them my money now. Go ahead, Ando. Sorry.
Invest in good things.
Well, she's on a billboard that's around everywhere, and it says "Kindness, pass it on." It's like so she's got this reputation. Yeah. She's got a reputation for being a nice, sweet lady or whatever. But then you see all this dark stuff, and maybe she is really a nice, sweet lady, but she's also being used by the cabal.
Yeah,
sure.
Obviously.
Now,
it could be just programming. Yeah,
it could be, but she was young and beautiful and maybe innocent coming out of the mountains of Tennessee and completely impoverished. That's possible. It's also possible that she's an Oprah-like figure, right? That she was bought and paid for from the beginning. It's possible that she made a Faustian bargain. She has been very clear through her career how much she loves performing, how much she loves the fame, how much she loves the high life. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I am saying that as we know in this corrupted industry that is weaponized against the populace, that it's very possible that she's playing her part. And she has an Oprah type story. And we know that Oprah is a eugenicist. We know that Oprah is involved with shady people in shady places. So it's food for thought in that regard.
Also, I probably wouldn't trust somebody with that much plastic surgery because I think I see a lot of people once they start getting the plastic surgery, I think that they do it more and more and more, and I think that they're giving them some crazy drugs. That's my theory on that. That's why some people get addicted to the plastic surgery, but they're really addicted to the recovery drugs, and maybe they're harder to get unless you have the plastic surgery.
Yeah, I would not. I wouldn't be surprised by that thought as well. And then Stella and I talked about this in another episode, that anesthesia has real consequences for the vitamin levels in the body, and just like recovery can be iffy. Kill says 9 to 5 was a good movie. Don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. Fair enough. Ando said bubble bathwater.
So I was remembering whenever I was a kid, she was on TV all the time, and she had some show on the Nashville network, and she would be in a bubble bath at the end. It would definitely be covering her very large parts, but yeah, she was into sexualizing herself for sure. But it was classy, but it wasn't like as classy as you can get, being naked on screen. Covered with some foam.
Why do that? It's just not necessary. And I'll tell you something, like as a guitar player, there's no freaking way that she was playing her own guitar. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at something. I don't know how she managed to play guitar with those long nails.
The nails, yeah. I've always wondered that.
It doesn't happen. Like my nails get beyond, not even looking over the top of my fingers, and I've got to cut them because it's just too uncovered. There's no way. She'd have to have her fingers sideways. And maybe she only played fairly basic chords, so possibly, maybe, but I highly doubt it. So I reckon she probably wasn't even playing her own guitar. I don't know.
I don't know. That's where I would be interested in your analysis on that. Kill said Joan Rivers had a shit ton of plastic surgery in her face. Yes, she did. And I do think that there are physical consequences for having that much plastic surgery, and I definitely think there could be signs of that as the generation that currently is in. So like a Kardashians, the Cyrus, like these young type starlets started extremely early with Botox, fillers, and plastic surgery. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what, if any, physical price they have to pay for that.
That's a very good point, because I remember the first time I heard about Botox, I can't even remember how old I was now, but I was just dumbfounded that somebody would even consider injecting botulism into their face.
Yeah.
I mean, hello. What the hell are we coming to? So, yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe the botulism in itself has created some kind of, I don't know, it's a weird thing to want to inject.
Yeah.
People inject strange things, don't they?
They do.
Yeah, you wouldn't want somebody to botch that.
No, you
correct.
would not.
So Keel says, I was always more of an Elvira man anyway. And Keel, I'm happy to hear you say that, because I feel like that's very appropriate with our spooky, spectacular show.
Yes. Spectacularism of spookiness.
Okay, so we are running a little bit long, so I want to thank everyone for hanging with us, but I am just going to quickly go over my story, and maybe we can get into more details about it later, because there's a lot of occult stuff happening here. But Matthew Perry, Friend Star, passed away. I think most of you probably know that. I'm going to hit some of the highlights, though, okay? He was found, allegedly, he drowned in the bathtub. No, hot tub. My apologies, okay? But if you look into, and Isaac Weishaupt has just put out what he referred to as an emergency episode. It's pretty good about this, and there's a lot of strange things going on with the story, and I'm just going to hit them as quickly as I can, and I'll put the link for that podcast in the show notes, so you can check that out and see what you think. It's available for free on podcast or on Spotify. He's also on Rockfin, Apple, whatever. But basically, Matthew Perry, we saw that. So his catch line for Friends was, "Could you be any more XYZ?" Okay, it was like very over the top. It's very silly, but that was his thing. So we then recently saw, after his death, people were sharing a picture from one of his socials, which was, "Could I be any more vaccinated?" And allegedly, he at least had the first 2 plus 2 boosters. So that's one consideration. The other consideration is that he, I think, had a health incident, like a coma, heart attack or something, years ago. And this would be before the vaccines came out. That's worthwhile consideration as well. I think he was in a coma or something. So then he also has a history of pain pill addiction and alcoholism. So we know that those can take a toll on the body, right? Yep. However, the death ended up happening this past weekend. So it was the weekend right before Halloween, which we know is a high ritual time for those that practice that, whether that is, witchcraft or, I don't know if you call them Satanists or whatever, but that is a possibility. So then he had posted the last image of him was this very purple sky. And our buddy Jen is very big into studying like the color of images and the symbology as well. Shout out to Jen. And I also have another shout out for him coming up, because he actually scooped Isaac on this. But so we were looking at, go ahead, Steph.
I was just saying, nice one. Good on you, Jen.
Oh yeah, big time. So we were talking about just the color, because it was very like Matt Perry in the hot tub, and then a lot of sky and a big full moon above his head, right? Then, as we were talking about, he was signing off on his posts, Matt Man. Okay. So then that, of course, like we talked about, that made me think of the whole Dark Knight Rises, whatever. And then the thing with the hot tub. Well, celebrity deaths right off the top of my head that we know are associated with bathtub deaths. Whitney Houston, found dead in a bathtub. Her daughter, Bobby Christina, found dead in a bathtub. Aaron Carter, Nick Carter's younger brother, singer, Stella, if you don't know who he is, found dead in a bathtub. Kim Kardashian, supposedly before she got robbed in Paris, was also found, or she was in a bathtub. And now we have Matt Perry being in a hot tub. And you think, well, like, why would they care about Matthew Perry? Whatever.
And also Elvis was found in a bathroom. did.
Yes. And there's several others too. So that's worthwhile to look into. Keel said modern witchcraft is not necessarily the same thing as Satanism. Now,
Deception.
I don't study these as much. Isaac does say that there is a difference, but Stella disagrees with that. So either way, it's ritualistic and it's strange. So we can talk about, the whole bathtub witchcraft, all that stuff later, but I want to get those points out. So there is something very ritualistic about it. We know that, and there's an association with odd celebrity deaths that are dying before their time. Then enter the other scoop that Jen gave me, and this was before Isaac. Jen told me that Matt Perry went to school with Justin Trudeau. So he allegedly beat up Justin Trudeau in school. And so he was connected. And Jen also said that Tom Green, the my bum is on your lips. My bum is on your lips.
Yeah, the sausages, daddy sausages. Yeah.
Yeah, the comedian Tom Green also was in that group. And Gavin McGinnis, who was the founder of the Proud Boys here in the States, was also allegedly friends with them. So the point that I'm trying to make, and Matt Perry's mother was Canadian, and she actually worked for Pierre Trudeau. So what I'm saying is that this is very, very strange. And it kind of ties in. Now, is the whole Matman thing something? I don't know. Oh, Gentleman Skeptic says all magic is black magic. And I don't disagree with that. Thank you for that.
I totally
input,
agree.
Gentleman Skeptic.
Yes, thank you, Gentleman Skeptic. You are definitely,
yes.
I am on your side on that one.
Yeah. So thanks for the input there. But the point is that it's very weird. So what I'm saying is that normicons out here who are like, oh, well, he just had the jab. He was just a pillhead or whatever. I'm like, okay. Okay, but I don't think so, right? There's something weird here. So I'm going to put the link to Isaac's show in our show notes for you to check out. I would love to get your feedback on this. Ignore Isaac's nonsense about like mass shootings and stuff like that. I think he's in like can't blame the guns, but I'm like, Isaac, everything that you know, don't you know that all these people have been experimented on? They're all activated. Like this is part of the thing. But anyway, just leave that out. Just listen to the info about Matt Perry and the other ritualistic, and he gives specifics. So it's quite interesting.
What have you got to say on that one, Ando?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. When you were saying it, I was like, oh, yeah, the bathtub thing, because the bathtub thing is really common, but it was hot tub, apparently.
Yeah, right.
Did he Bob Saget, or did he just die in his bath or hot tub? Because Bob Saget apparently slipped in the shower or something along that.
Yeah, he
line.
hit his head. I was also going to ask, because that article that I think you posted, Ashley, about this, it said, TMZ it said that there was no drugs or alcohol. It might have just been drugs not found on the scene, but then I thought,
correct.
Are they going to come back with, that was it found in his body, though? Like, there was no open or obvious paraphernalia, I guess, is what they're saying.
Correct. That was my understanding. Now, I did read a blip earlier today that said that they did find prescription medication in the house, but it didn't say that it was being abused. Yeah, and I will say that it's not that I think that Isaac is completely removed from being an controlled opposition or something like that. It certainly is possible. I like listening to his stuff, but I think you got to take it with a grain of salt, like where he's at. And he is very much supportive of the, LGBT values and stuff like that I don't necessarily agree with because I see why it's being done and cultivated and all that's destructive. But anyway, yes, back to you, Stella. That it sounds like they are not saying it was drugs at this time, but it does say that he was found underwater in his hot tub by his assistant who lifted his head up to try to get him some air, first responders had revealed. But by the time the LA Fire Department arrived at the Friends Stars Pacific Palisades home on Saturday and lifted him out of the jacuzzi, he was already dead. So it sounds like they're saying he drowned and his assistant found him at just like right on the edge there.
Still fresh.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a strange one.
Who knows?
Indeed.
I mean, like, a lot of those people are so screwed up because of their unnatural lives that, there is a possibility that he just passed out and drowned or something. Who knows? But, the influence that these people are living under, I mean, it would be impossible to come out with a stable, solid, as a stable, solid person, I think. I mean, there's very few who do.
Yes.
Very few.
And now he's a friendly ghost.
Yeah. Well, and knowing that his family was that connected, and then knowing that, and I think these people are psychopaths. So how would we know that their children aren't experimented on and MK Ultra? I mean, 100%. We don't know that.
That's what we've got to remember. These people are generations down from the generations before them who were doing some very questionable things. So we're seeing the results of that.
Exactly. And so the other thing was, if people think that he's an irrelevant celebrity, he was on the most popular sitcom of all time in the United States. And at that time, in the late 90s, early aughts, that entire cast was making $1 million per episode in the 90s and the 2000s.
That's a lot of money, isn't it?
It's a lot of money. And so if you had 22 episodes per year, that was $22 million that they were bringing in.
And that's just from the show alone.
Just from the show.
All the other spin-offs.
Exactly. And the other movie deals that they got and things like that. So I think that you have to understand that he may seem totally disconnected from fame and celebrity now, but he wasn't. He was at the top of that, sitcom celebrity pyramid, the most popular sitcom ever.
Can we? I'm sorry.
Hold on one sec. Gentleman Skeptic said that Sam Tripoli just did a show with Recluse on Project Artichoke. Fascinating. I'm not familiar with Project Artichoke, but I will check that out. And then he also said it was unheard of at the time. The high pay, the $1 million per episode per cast member. Yes, it was groundbreaking.
Yeah. What was Akil's just brought up this, what was the Cranberries thing? Can we discuss not only the connection of the Cranberries with the Matthew Perry thing, but also the actual Cranberries?
Doris,
thank you.
Yeah.
Dolores.
Yes. She was also found in a bathtub. Yeah. Thank you, Gil.
Right. Yes. Okay. And there was that some weird thing that Matthew Perry did with a cranberry or something, or 3 cranberries?
It was 3 grapes on one of his
Somebody
posts.
said it was cranberries, right?
And he said, "This is all that I've eaten today." It was bizarre.
Okay. All right.
And here's the other thing that Isaac had pointed out was that...
sorry. So there was no cranberries connection there then?
Just the bathtub.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for clearing that up.
But Isaac had pointed out that that Matthew really didn't post that much. But then very recently, he had been posting a lot, and it was weird stuff like that. Like, this is all I've had to eat today. Or a picture of the city, and it's like, don't worry, I've got the city tonight. I'm Matt Man. What?
Is his Instagram account still up, or have somebody suspended it?
It seems like as of when I was listening to that his socials are still up. Yeah, you should be able to find him on Instagram.
Okay.
And
that tells me something too. It means that they want people to see stuff.
Yeah. Interesting. So Keel said, never liked that show, maybe because everyone around me was losing their shit over it.
Yeah,
that
I'm
is
with you. Same.
That's possible. For me, it was the age that I was at, and it was just an absolutely huge show. So I was interested in it. It was, I have nostalgia for it. But I will say that Owen Benjamin pointed this out, and he's even talked about this before, but you can find parts of the show that are done without the laugh track. And he's like, they're psychos. It's just people being psychopaths, which is fair, and that's part of the predictive programming, right? Like, people, it's shown as funny, but it's actually horrible people.
It's incredible, the psychology of canned laughter and canned clapping, etc.
Yeah.
As soon as you hear that, you just take any kind of sting out of it. It's like, they're just joking.
If you liked Friends, could you be any more normie?
True.
You could not be any more normie. I will say that I definitely was a big time normie con. And even a couple of years ago, our friends sent me a Friends advent calendar, and there was like these little ornaments and stuff. You know, I enjoyed it. Don't hate.
No, we were where we were at that time. So
yeah, for sure. All right. Well, we definitely have gone over a little bit, but I apologize if I've been annoying in my blabbing, because I've had a lot to say here, but I will say that I've had a great time, and I want to thank our very special guest, Ando, for joining us today. And give me 1 second, Ando. I'm going to swing it back around. Stella, do you have anything that you want to sign out on? And thank you so much for being here. I have loved chatting with you about all of this wild stuff.
Yes, as usual, I always enjoy your company and being here and just blabbing, and especially enjoy when we know people are actually listening. That's really cool.
It's so fun.
Thanks for giving us your time, folks. And I just wanted to say one last thing. I was reading a little bit about Aleister Crowley in the last couple of days, and a little bit more. And I don't know the name of the character. Professor somebody in J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter. Professor whoever is a fan will know exactly who I'm talking about. Sorry, I should have
Dumbledore. I don't know them all.
There was a few.
Give me some personality traits, and I'll tell you who it is.
Okay, that character was based on Aleister Crowley. So, damn! I should have written down. That was the only thing I didn't write down. Was the name of the professor? I thought you guys would just know it because
there's a ton of professors. So
I didn't realize that. Okay.
It could be Professor Snape, Severus Snape.
Oh, I think that rings a bell. Yes, I think
he was
Snape.
The potions master, and he was someone who was for the first several books. You thought that he was a bad guy, and he actually ended up being. He wasn't what you thought he was. Spoiler alert! If you haven't seen it,
so he wasn't what you thought he was. Gee, that's unusual, isn't it?
Deception. Yeah. Yes, for sure. So, Gentleman Skeptic said Jack Allen of the Kojak Conspiracy or Just a Coincidence just did a show on Mr. Crowley. Yes, that's a good looking out there, because I think it was maybe yesterday or the day before that he did that. So go check that out.
Jack Allen. I'm not familiar with Jack Allen.
Yeah, so he's buddies with the Odd Man out, and actually Binkley has done interviews, I'm pretty sure, with both of those guys and done some podcasts. So if you look it up, Stell, it is Kojak, Kojac, Conspiracy or Just a Coincidence. Gentleman Skeptic.
Okay.
Yes. Gentleman Skeptic said basically Crowley was British intelligence. I would buy that.
Yep.
Keel said Snape kills Dumbledore, so he just spoiled it for everybody.
Spoil it.
What we don't know, what Keel's leaving out, because these media people, they only want you to get one side of it. The truth is that Dumbledore and Snape had already worked this out. Dumbledore was ill and dying. No, Keel, it's Koja.
Spoiling it more.
I know. Okay, so
look, everyone who's going to read J.K. Rowling's stuff has probably already read it by now. I will never read it, never have, never will.
That was a long time ago. Keel said, so all the trick-or-treaters at this time, I believe, are just looking to see who isn't watching their house. Is that because they're little thieves? Okay, so...
I've never liked that idea of the whole trick-or-treating thing. I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's not my thing. They've sort of inflicted it on Australia. The media are brainwashing us into believing that it's becoming way more popular now. Everybody's embracing it. It's like, well, I'm not really seeing that.
It's popular here in the States. It's very popular.
We never had it at all for years. It's only been
so weird.
I don't know, maybe the last 20 years, I suppose it's kind of been forced on us. You know, you see all this made in China plastic crap for sale in the shops that you know is just going to be used one night and then probably get all thrown out. Just makes my blood boil, that stuff.
Yeah, I definitely can understand that. So Keel said that Snape was also Harry's dad. I said Keel is fake news. He's just spreading misinformation at this point. Straight to jail.
Yep. The correspondence will be entered into.
Keel also said in regards to people watching his house, trick-or-treaters, he stays out to show dominance.
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay, everyone. Thank you so much. We got one more thing from Gentleman Skeptic. He said Anton LaVey would thank parents for letting their kids worship Satan one night a year, Halloween.
He would, although it is said that Anton LaVey actually, as on his dying words, were, "I've made a mistake."
I would say he did. Yeah, I would say he
Apparently.
did for sure.
That could be a story too. Who knows?
Yeah, it's interesting nonetheless. Okay, so Stella, anything else from you?
I think I've said just about enough. Thank you. Thanks for having us here, and thanks for joining us, Ando. It's been awesome.
Thanks, y'all.
Yes. Ando, thank you so much for joining us. As Stella said, I agree 100%. Thank you, Stella. I've highly enjoyed this conversation. Ando, where can we find you?
You can find me on Catchers under Burn Babylon Burn, or look me up on my link tree, which is libertylinks.io/the Doom Kitchen. And you can also email me at thedoomkitchen@protonmail.com. And Ashley, how do I find the Union of the Unknown?
Yeah, were you glad that Ashley asked you that?
I certainly was, but I would be more glad whenever Ashley says her tagline, because it's one of my favorite things.
Well, Ando, I'm glad you asked. You can find us at theunionoftheunknowns.com. That's our Linktree page that has all the myriad ways that you can get in touch with us, including the link to our Discord where you can join the conversation, and we would be very happy to have you. And you can find me over on Twitter at Union Unknowns, running the Twitter account, trolling the war pigs as it goes. And I also wanted to give Stella a shout out because, all three of us here will join the WTF forum as often as we can. Normally that's every week. So that's live on Sunday evening, 8 p.m. Eastern time. And we like to share out the link for that on our socials. And also Stella has been joining Brad Binkley on the Prop Report pretty regularly. And it has been a lot of fun to listen to those episodes. So definitely check that out as well.
Thank you for that. Yeah, it's definitely good fun. Just getting together with like-minded peoples.
Yeah, it's they're very good episodes, a lot of fun to listen to. So definitely check out Stella over on the Prop Report. Last line here, Keel says, "Show dominance and mark my territory. One of the many perks to owning land." Yes. And everyone, thank you so much for joining us.
Anyway.
Yeah, he probably does. And he's not here to defend himself, so I'm just going to go with that. But thanks everyone who commented in the live chat. That was a lot of fun, and we really appreciate having you here and having you just let us know that you're watching. Thank you very much.
Awesome.
All righty. Well, we are going to get out of here, and
I'd just like to say God bless everyone, and stay safe on Halloween, and pray.
Absolutely. So, we're going to get out of here. Thanks, everyone, again, and we will talk to you soon. Okay? Bye-bye.
Bye.
Not Your Mama's News has been a production of the Union of the Unknowns podcast. New episodes are available weekly on all your favorite podcasting networks.